It's time to do something big. It's time to do something bold.
To have a bold idea, bigger than anyone is comfortable with.
And I've worked my whole career for a moment like this.
Do you think we can? Well, yeah, if we really, really want to.
Yes, we can.
This is the power of major philanthropy. This really works.
This evening, Anna and I want to share with you a dream.
Well, change is driven by people that are utterly devoted to a cause that they're passionate about. We call them social entrepreneurs. They're inspirers, persuaders, change makers, and they are heroes.
We won't be investing in shares to make money. We will be investing in dreams to make change. This right now is the official start of the Audacious Project.
In the next 4... Good morning, Houston. Good morning, YouTube. And welcome to the first episode of Einstein Mothers. GB Arnold here, and live streaming from Houston. Just on this is day 7 of Einstein Mothers' Audacious Challenge to end childhood chronic disease in America. We launched on June 21st, 2023, on the summer solstice, with a big vision, a bold vision to do something audacious. So welcome to Einstein Mothers' Audacious Challenge. Our goal is to end childhood chronic disease in America by December 21st, 2035. Einstein Mothers believe that it is time to do something big. It is time to do something bold. It is time to have bold ideas bigger than anyone is comfortable with. 11 years ago, Einstein Mothers was born to solve a single riddle. It was a riddle posed by Anadarko Petroleum, at the time the largest privately held oil and gas company in America. It was February 2012 that I heard the riddle shared with me by a good friend. And here's the riddle that inspired this epic journey. The question that they were posing, Anadarko, was why are children getting sicker and sicker and sicker at younger and younger ages with the chronic diseases that were once reserved for the elderly? My first question is, why is Anadarko Petroleum asking that question? But over the last 11 years, Einstein Mothers have invested over 70,000 hours to create a comprehensive and a scalable solution to eradicate childhood chronic disease in America and beyond. This is truly an audacious project. This is an audacious challenge to do something big. And many of you may be asking, well, how do we do that? And the short answer is it's one child at a time. To scale it, we have to focus on one school at a time. And then we begin to work at one community at a time. And it begins with your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. I mean, and again, if you have children that are sick, if you've got family members who are sick, my premise has been that what we won't do for ourselves, that mothers would do for their children, caretakers would do for their children, parents would do for their children. At the heart of Einstein Mothers is a belief that it's brilliant-minded and tenacious mothers that hold the power and the purse strings to make this vision a reality. Einstein Mothers have a comprehensive and scalable solution that looks at educating parents, mothers. I mean, it's based on education, it's based on training, what you need to know, why you need to know it, how to implement the solutions. And these are evidence-based science and engineering strategies and tactics. It's not just science alone. It requires science and technology to address the underlying root causes that we're facing today. And these strategies and tactics were designed to protect not only the health, but also restore the health of our children. And it works for everyone if you're willing to implement them for you and for your family. Again, I'm Arnold. I'm GB Arnold, and I'm your host and your guide for this epic quest to resolve humanity's most audacious challenges, and beginning with this giant challenge of ending childhood chronic disease. The belief that, can there be a one unifying vision that we all could agree upon, that we all can rally around? And that was the only one I came up with, is that children's health and wellness could be a catalyst to bring us together. This is day 7 of an audacious challenge that ends on December 21st, 2035. So we're just at the beginning of this, and I'm just at the beginning of learning how to craft a message to share it, and then figuring out how to deliver it through the social media. Today I want to share with you the secret solution to protect and restore the health of your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. That's my goal. And indeed, this goes beyond just helping your children. These secret solutions can help and restore the health of your entire family, your parents, and your pets. And what are we protecting them from? We're protecting them from the ravages of chronic disease, which is pain and misery and suffering. I'm here today and every day just to remind you that, that I'm sure that this is not the first time you've been here. This is not the first time you've heard someone promise you a solution to restore your health, to restore the health of your loved ones. And look, I've been looking for a long time. And what we're offering, what's out there in the marketplace, is another magic pill and another magic potion. And so if you've tried everything under the sun, every protocol, every diet, every exercise, and you failed in the past, and you failed to protect your health, the health of your children, the health of your family, I'm here to tell you it's not your fault. I mean, it's just too much information. It's just overwhelming. And we typically are coming at it from an old vehicle, an old paradigm. And to wade through the piles of manure to find the pearls of wisdom that can actually begin to create positive change in your life, it's a real daunting task. It's overwhelming. In fact, there's so much information. It's not a surprise that you've been kept from your success, because after a while, it's like, just give me another kitty video, right? Give me another video of Jacob so I can be happy about something. Look, I understand your frustration. I mean, I've been there. I have experienced that ups and downs on this 11-year, I call it 40 years shoved into an 11-year box. Something works, something doesn't work. So I'm here to just allay your fears. That if you've been concerned in the past, you didn't have the right tools, you didn't have the right resources, you didn't have the right support that you needed to achieve your goals, to protect the health of your family, I want to put those fears to rest. Because you can do this, but you need the right plan. You need the right support, and really, ultimately, the right community where you have collaboration with people in your local community. Peer-to-peer, mother-to-mother collaboration to learn, to do, and then to be able to teach others. That's one of the mottos of Einstein Mothers. You learn it first, and then you apply it and you do it, and then as you learn it, do it, then you begin to teach others. And then as we teach others, then we can begin to serve others on a broader, bigger scale. I'm also here to let you know that it's not just finding the right information. We're not just struggling to find the right solution, to find the right protocol. But there's a big battle waging, and I know that you know it. I know that you see it. I mean, we're battling the massive multinational corporations that are spending millions and millions of dollars on advertising to convince you that you can treat your symptoms with a pharmaceutical drug. Just take one of our drugs, you'll be fine, right? I first came back onto the grid after being off for quite some time, 9, 10 years. Turned the TV on when I would visit my mom, and the fact that our brains are hypnotized by the drug advertisements every 15 minutes, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, it is truly mind-numbing. You know, it's so mind-numbing that we just gloss over the disclaimers at the end of the ad, right? Yes, it could kill you and make you go insane and you'll lose your kidney and your liver, but that's okay. We'll fix the rash on your arm. But I'm here to tell you that drugs that they're selling, the ones that are only treating your symptoms of your balance, these imbalances that are existing in the body, and you know this as well, at more times than not, the drugs that we're being prescribed can oftentimes create worse symptoms. Those symptoms, those disclaimers at the end of the ad, right? You know, but it's okay because the industrial medical complex, the big pharmas have got your back because they've got another drug to sell you, another overpriced drug to sell you, another overpriced drug for the insurance company to pay for, Medicare, Medicaid to pay for, which is causing our nation to go bankrupt, doing everything we can to begin to try to eliminate those entitlements to those people who need help. Well, I'm here today to tell you that the industrial medical complex, Big Pharma, is wrong. I'm here to tell you that the treating your symptoms is not going to restore your health. It's not going to restore your vitality. You can't just take a pill to solve the problem. You have to go to the root causes. You know, if you've ever had suspicion that the government was going to take care of you, that take care of me, that they were looking after society, you know, they're not. You know, I had a belief at some point that they were going to protect us from harmful pharmaceutical drugs. I believe the EPA was established to protect citizens from chemicals in our water, chemicals that are that's in our air. Yeah, I thought the FDA, you know, the USDA was going to protect us from harmful contaminants in our food, pesticides and herbicides. But the fact is, our government agencies are broken. They're not here to protect us. To protect us from the body care products that were being sold, the things that line the shelves in our supermarket, that in our brains we have to imagine, like, clearly it must be safe if the manufacturer can sell this to us. I'm here to remind you, the government has failed to do their job. And the question, you know, the questions are like, well, why? Then the answer is simple. Those same big multinational corporations are the ones who've captivated our agencies, sent their lobbyists to head the organization to write the policies for the benefit of protecting the corporation's profits. That's right. Protect the corporation's profits at our expense, at the expense of the health of our children, at the expense of the health of our loved ones. It's a fact. An absolute fact. And it's a shameful fact that here we are in the 21st century and dark money and corporations have controlled the agencies that were designed to protect us. Shame on them. I'm here today that Einstein Mothers has a comprehensive plan. A comprehensive plan to protect and restore the health of your children from what? From the underlying root causes of chronic disease. You know, don't forget, I mean, this is the thing that's staggering. 40% of our children today are suffering from one or more chronic diseases. It is absolutely staggering. Einstein Mothers was born, inspired from a single question that focused on children's health. It was a belief that if we focused on children's health, prevent them from getting sick, that maybe we could eradicate chronic disease at large going forward into the future. That's the goal by 2035, because the idea, Einstein mothers believe, I believe, that every child has a birthright to experience her full potential in this lifetime. That's the mission of Einstein mothers. I'm here to encourage your dreams. You know, I'm here to say that you know, as mothers come together, inspired by taking care of their babies, that single, common, unifying vision, mission of restoring the health and vitality of their children, their families, that we can positively change the world. We can, in fact, make a difference going forward. We can, in fact, as I change to a new background here, we can prepare our kids for what's the future that you know, the future that lies on the horizon. But it's up to all of us to do our collective part. It's all of us to come together and go, yep, children's health matters. Okay, Einstein mothers, what's the solution? Show me the way, right? So there is a way. Because today the water is rising and the planet is on fire. And the only question is, you know, what are we waiting for? Well, ultimately we're waiting for a solution. We're waiting for someone to say, okay, I've done it. I found the solution to the $50 trillion riddle. If we can eradicate chronic disease in America by then, the pot of gold that waits for us at the end is valued at $50 trillion. Wrap your mind around that. So I show up every single day to have a conversation with two different types of people. If you find me and you, again, hopefully can work through some of my technical challenges, but if you're in the first category of people, if you're looking for ways to protect your children, you understand what's at stake here, you understand what's going on, you're well informed and well educated, and you're looking for strategies to prevent chronic disease, first of all, you're ahead of the pack, because prevention is worth a fortune of pharmaceutical drugs. It's worth a lifetime of horrible, debilitating side effects. So you're in the right place, because there are strategies to provide you with your solutions, what you're looking for. The second type of people, group of people that I hope to have a conversation with, it's probably most of you. It's those of you suffering from chronic disease. It's those of you, looking for strategies to restore the health of your children, to restore your own health, to restore. Done everything under the sun and you have not found relief. These strategies, these tactics will address the underlying root causes. That's the promise. And as we get into it, as we get into the science and the technology and the engineering solutions, the math and the art of longevity, I think you'll see that, okay, no one's talking about this. And the bigger question is, why is no one talking about this? And I've been on a journey for the last 30 years. The last 30 years to discover the longevity secrets. And over the years, I have found secrets that have helped tens of thousands of my clients and of students to reverse chronic injury and to reverse chronic disease. But 30 years ago, when I first jumped into this arena, I was in the same place you were. I was lost, I was confused, and I was searching for answers, and there wasn't a Google. And that may have been a good thing, because there's more garbage on the internet than ever before. So to be able to wade through what's right is challenging. So 30 years ago, I was living in Berlin, Germany, working for the Department of Defense, managing the U.S. Army Officers Club, just got into import-export into a brand new open Soviet Union. And I got a call from my mom. And my mom said, Arnie, your father is in the hospital, and he's suffering from respiratory issues caused by the 1994 Mexican wildfires, and the doctors didn't give him much hope for living. So it was an easy decision. My desire to heal my father was more important to me than what I was doing in Berlin. So I packed up my bags, shipped my stuff home, landed it in Houston in April of 1994. And that's when I had my first encounter with the great villain. One villain that I call chronic disease. And just so that we're clear about this, chronic disease is caused by one underlying cause. Most all chronic diseases are caused by chronic inflammation. You know, our thought was, okay, respiratory issues, my dad had a big belly, how can we begin to solve this issue? So we thought diet. Let's start with diet, right? Everybody starts with diet. It's going to change my diet, change my exercise routine. Maybe that will fix a problem. And it had some positive benefits, don't get me wrong, but diet alone was not enough to restore his health. It was not enough for sure to reverse the effects of a late-stage chronic disease like emphysema. So yeah, my father was a chronic smoker, but the day that he was diagnosed, he quit smoking, but the damage had already been done, and he had been suffering for 8 years. And so here my father was, suffering in pain. It was a miserable experience to see that firsthand. You know, along the way, I discovered what I call the first guide on my journey. And she introduced me to the power of therapeutic massage. So I went to massage school. I enrolled in anatomy and physiology courses back in 1995. And that's when I discovered the healing power of touch. And that the laying on of hands, understanding the techniques, understanding anatomy and physiology, and these ancient techniques that have been around, we can, in fact, alleviate pain, suffering. In fact, 1 hour of massage was sufficient to give my father hours of relief. My regret? I didn't work on him every single day. And I regret that to this day. You know, but along the way, I discovered another guide, and that was introduced to Bikram's yoga, and it was the power of Bikram yoga, hot yoga, that I discovered it had the ability of healing chronic injury. I had a 2-year neck injury, and 6 classes in 2 weeks, it was gone. What did I do? Jumped in head first, went to Bikram yoga training, came back 3 years later, opened a yoga studio. Fast forward to February 11th, 2012 is when a friend, student there at the studio, introduced me to the $50 trillion riddle. Why are kids getting sicker and sicker and sicker at younger and younger ages with a chronic disease reserved for the elderly? In that moment, boom, epiphany. Chemicals and harmful contaminants in the air we breathe, the water we drink, the water we cook with, the water we bathe in, and the chemicals in our food, harmful contaminants in our food that we are consuming on a regular and daily basis. So over the last 30 years, I've put together protocols and products focused on eliminating what we can and then mitigating what we can eliminate. So Einstein Mother's 3-step framework, it's simple, and it applies to each of the 5 elements: air, water, earth, fire, and space. First thing you got to do is you have to assess your environment. Measuring it, monitoring it, water test, air test. Once you know what you're dealing with, then you eliminate what you can. You look for the sources, that source, this source. Can I get rid of it? Yes. Some things you just can't get rid of. You're probably not going to start throwing away your furniture or your bed. It may take some time before you can do these things. So we have strategies to mitigate what we can eliminate. But with any new opportunity, we're always faced with 3 core false beliefs. Is this the right vehicle? You know, and right now, you know, I have not shared enough with you for you to even to go understand it, whether or not it can work for you, right? I'm just telling you right now, I'm saying there's a promise of a comprehensive plan that can do this. And over the next couple of weeks, I will share with you the details of how that works. But we also have internal beliefs. You know, you may go, you're already in the camp. I believe that it's important to protect my children, my family from harmful chemicals and contaminants. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a scientist. I don't even know where to begin. You know, yep. Einstein Mother's solution will solve that objection, deal with that internal belief. It's the external beliefs that are also challenging too. I mean, you may go, this may work for me, but you know, where do you find the support to implement the strategies. Because right now, what I find that's currently available, the wellness coaches, the longevity gurus, all the people trying to sell you another supplement, is they're giving you knowledge. What I've discovered is we don't need knowledge. What we need is we need the right knowledge, and we need understanding of that knowledge. And so it's important, you know, the sort of the 3 secrets of Einstein Mothers, this idea of the right plan. You got to know, you know, what do you need to know about air, water, earth, fire, and space? What do you need to know? And that's the knowledge part. But we have to go beyond knowledge to the understanding part. Why is it important for you to know? Because if you don't have the understanding part, then you're not going to be led to the 3rd step in the process, which is take wise actions. The wise actions to implement the solutions, to implement the tactics that can, in fact, address the underlying root causes. So, you know, that's the plan part. Understanding, knowledge, understanding, and then wisdom. And then having the right guide, the right team to be able to coach you into the implementation. Having the consulting, trained consultants, certified consultants who can actually help do it for you, right? So you got here's a DIY plan, here's a done with you plan, and then if you've got the money and you're really suffering, here, let us come do it for you. Ultimately, Einstein Mothers' goal is to create a community, local communities around each and every school district in America, but starting here in the greater Houston area, where we can bring people together, working to collaborate together to implement these solutions in your own home, tracking the results so that we can verify that these solutions are actually working. As we implement the solutions and we're tracking it over time, we should begin to see an improvement in your health outcome. Biomarkers improving, which means we're back to assessing. Where are you starting from? And now that you know where you're starting from, as we implement a new protocol, and then we track it over time, do we see a diminishment in your symptoms, requiring less medicines, which of course requires working with your physician to moderate that. So we work closely with your physicians to implement these science and engineering strategies and tactics. I mean, for example, how do we get the chemicals out of the air? How do we get chemicals out of the water? How do we get chemicals out of our food? What do you have to know about electric fields and magnetic fields? What is that even? And how does that even work? How do you even measure that? What does microwave radiation have to do with my health or the health of my children? I mean, those are just a few of the questions that we'll be looking at. Taking each and every element one by one, starting with the air element, and looking at indoor air quality, the thing that you can control. You can't control what happens on the outside, right? We're not going to get the chemical companies to do what they should be doing and stop spewing the chemicals in our air. We're not going to be able to move fast enough to get every car that's running, you know, on electricity or some other alternative fuel source that it doesn't pollute our environment. It's not going to happen. So what happens out there is, for a large part, outside of our control, and that's going to take time. But we can control what happens inside. We can begin to look at assessing our environment, using our nose to find out where the problems are, and eliminating fragrances from our home. All the plugins that we have that we've been led to believe that we need. All the fragrances in our body care products and personal care products. All the chemicals that we've brought into our home that go down the drain, that contaminate our water. Well, not our water. Chemicals that go down our drain becomes a problem for people downstream, right? So here in Houston and in the Gulf Coast, our water is some of the worst on the planet. And while it may not kill you, you may not contract dysentery or cholera, there's a good chance you could get a flesh-eating bacteria that eat your brain out, like was in Lake Jackson here recently, right? Just a few short months ago. You may have seen that on the news. So we're gonna dive into this and look at what is the problem. Looking at the science from a science perspective, looking at it from an engineering perspective. You know, because there's things we can simply eliminate to improve our indoor air quality, but there's other things we can't do. For example, we're not going to be able to get rid of our carpet and our drapes and our bedding and all of these items that we manufacture. They off-gas what's called volatile organic compounds, semi-volatile organic compounds. These are chemicals that ultimately have a disruption in our what's called the endocrine system, our hormonal system. And what's interesting about that, the fragrances, these chemicals that we're exposed to on a regular basis, they can lead to obesity. So here we are trying to solve obesity by diet and exercise. That's what we've been told since the 1920s when Kellogg said it's just your diet and exercise. That's your problem. I'm here today to tell you that's not where you start. Yeah, diet and exercise is important. It's not where we start. We start with eliminating the contaminants from the air you breathe. Step one. Because I can't even go on to the step 2 part of air, which is teaching you how to breathe. I mean, to think about it, why would I teach you breathing exercises to do full lung diaphragmatic breathing, yogic breathing, when you're breathing in contaminants, particulate matter that can be harmful for your lungs, chemicals that can be harmful for your lungs, mold, biological contaminants that are in our environment that are harmful for our lungs and ultimately lead to chronic inflammation, which leads to chronic disease symptoms over time, yeah? And the younger we are, and this is why we're seeing problems in our children, because they're growing at a faster rate. They have a changeover of, they're growing, more cells, more dynamic growth, and so there's more opportunities for mutations and for systems to be suppressed. And so that's why we begin to see these chronic diseases that were once reserved for the elderly now showing up in our children because of the exposure of these 5 elements that are out of balance. So we start with air and then we move to water. And really these two, if we can work on them simultaneously, this is key. Because we've got to get chemicals out of our water. That's the top of the list. And so that's another engineering solution. That requires some complex chemistry, multi-stage medias that's used to get polar solvents and non-polar solvents and cations and anions. I mean, it's water chemistry. If you don't have a chemistry in water, good luck, right? But when we get to water, again, we've been sold a whole bunch of lies. I mean, if you've got a water softener in your home, if you've got a, like my mom did until recently, if you're still dumping bags of salt in our fresh water supply, you got to be asking the question, what's that about? Who came up with that idea? Was it the people making the salt or the people selling the system? I think it's probably a combination of both. That's probably confirm your suspicion that they're both in cahoots with each other to make money, but not solving your problem. Because, anyway, boy, I could go on about water. We will go deeper into water. My goal for these sessions every day, showing up at 10:35, hopefully. I was late today, some technical issues, but 10:35 every morning. I'm going to take one of the elements, and we're going to break it down, and we will then start looking at the strategies. Like, here's what you need to know, here's why it's important for you to know it, and here's a solution. And then again, knowledge is freely available, and then go. And then if you have questions along the way, that's when you start get into the comment sections. Well, what about this? What about this? How does this work? How does that work? In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be sharing a couple of opportunities with Einstein Mothers and to access our living library, which is all the curated information that you need, the books and the movies and the tapes and the TED Talks and the podcasts, all this curated information that's out there. And if you're lucky, you find it. You know, I've been looking for a long time, and I spent a lot of time curating this information. So putting that in one place, this is what you need to know about air. Here's where you go into our air room, right? So there'll be 5 different rooms that we will create for each of these 5 elements. And then when we talk about air, we talk about breath. When we talk about water, it's hydration. We talk about the earth, we're talking about food and fuel. When we talk about fire, that's when we get into talking about on the inside, the mitochondria. But then we can also begin to look in from a bigger, more macro perspective and looking at electric fields and magnetic fields. When we look at space is pretty fascinating. It's this invisible field that we don't see that operates at a frequency. And the frequencies that we've created, humanity has created, I call it anti-biological. And the problem is that the world's out of balance, right? Chemicals in our air, chemicals in our water, chemicals in our food. We've got all these things going on, and they've got to be addressed. And it's like, where do you start? So putting it together in a simple format, a simple package, and as I spend more time working on my protocols and my skills of being able to deliver this content live, I'm going to be here every day doing the best I can to share with you knowledge, understanding, and wisdom to address the underlying root causes of the chronic diseases that you and your children are suffering from. We're going to start with asthma, air and asthma. That's going to be the key. So what do you need to know about your indoor air quality to help support your child's asthma condition? How do we eliminate asthma? How does that happen? And what are the internal, the factors in our home that cause those problems? And can we do something about it? The answer is yes. And if you stay tuned, and if you keep checking back, I will continue to deliver hopefully content that is relevant, that is interesting, that is compelling, that's inspiring. And so until then, more to come. There's much, much more to the story. And if you will like and subscribe and just trust and believe that there is more good coming. There's more good knowledge coming. There's more good wisdom coming. I greatly appreciate it. And again, it's going to be practicing this new skill set that I'm brand new at. So thank you for your patience, and thank you for your interest, and thank you for your time. And the solutions are coming. The secret solutions to end chronic disease through children first, starting with our children. Einstein Mothers Well Children Initiative first is going to be is where we start. Because I believe we'll do these things for our children where we're not going to do it for ourselves. I believe you'll do it for your grandchildren. I believe you'll spend whatever it takes to implement these solutions for your great-grandchildren. If you have ears to hear, if you've got an empty cup, if you're looking for solutions, if you're concerned about them getting sick, I believe you'll take the steps necessary. I mean, in fact, there's no doubt in my mind. That's the whole premise of Einstein Mothers. The belief that mothers have a maternal instinct, a maternal drive to protect their offspring, to protect the future. We have a choice. Right now, it's a binary choice. Either it's anti-biological or it's pro-biological. We have a choice each and every day. And I hope to deliver you compelling information that inspires you to choose pro-biological and wake you up to the areas where we're being anti-biological. Okay, that's all I got for you today. And I look forward to continue to hone my skills and my practices of being live and sharing this. I think it requires at least 100 episodes before you really get good. And look, I'll end with this. If you ever even get this far, who knows, right? But like the times I was teaching Bikram yoga, I sucked initially. And I feel like sucks, really. I don't feel like I've got my technology down. I don't feel like I've got my script down. You know, I spent more time on technology than really refining my thoughts and to share, you know, to share good content with you. That's going to come. And I know as I practice more, I'll suck less. And then, you know, again, this is the infamous words of, and I don't know if somebody else may have said it as well, but I heard it through Garrett White sharing this with Russell Brunson. You know, Russell, you keep doing this long enough, you may suck so little that you actually might be good. So fingers crossed, here's to the day that I might actually be good, that I might be clear and concise. My next goal is to continue to refine the message down to about a 15 to 30 second, 5-second clips. I believe this long form is interesting, but my sense is most people are not going to sit through, especially this. Why would you sit through this unless you're my friend, or unless you really are looking and you believe that, hey, maybe somebody found a secret that's worth $50 trillion. Maybe you're actually curious. If you are, I'm glad you're here. Please leave a comment. Let me know that you're here and you got to the end of this thing, because you're my new all-time favorite person on the planet. But to the degree that, you know, capturing the attention, the attention span of our audience, mothers that are stressed out, freaked out, and overwhelmed, grandmothers, you know, 10, 15, I mean, we're swiping, right? I mean, I got a friend who's all she does is swipe TikTok, right? Looking for the next dopamine hit. So to the degree that we can deliver good, clean content that drives traffic to hopefully better content and the solutions, I think that's going to be the key. So with some time, I'll be pulling these things together, getting the Einstein Mothers Living Library together. I'll be working on Einstein Mothers Co-op. That's going to be the place where you'll get steep discounts on the products and the protocols that we'll be sharing. And then what else? And then that'll be a place for community where we'll be gathering together, really kind of a school district by school district, or maybe even more refined zip code by zip code, where we'll be actually putting together. One of the things that I haven't mentioned up until now that I'll go ahead and mention now is Einstein Mothers micro clinical trials. Actually, I think they're called excuse me, haven't had any breakfast today. It's Einstein Mothers clinical micro trials. These are micro trials in that they are short in duration, and they're kind of micro dose trials. And if you know what a micro dose trial is, it's a phase 0 trial. So literally enrolling, these are publicly funded clinical micro trials, enrolling you, the public, mothers with children, to enroll into the trial, the clinical trial, to implement the protocols, to track your biomarkers, and to see if the implementation of the protocols had an improvement in your health outcome. And as we begin to verify and validate that these protocols are working and are in fact improving your health outcome, then now we've got something that we can share with those that are, you know, looking at how to scale, whether they be the philanthropists among us or corporations among us, or other just, you know, concerned citizens that are looking for solutions. Because it's not enough to say, hey, here's the next thing, you know, here's the next whatever, the next false promise. At some point, we have to use good science to track the outcome of what we propose. And these are some of the things I think is going to make Einstein Mothers different. I don't think. This is what makes Einstein different from anything else I've seen to date. It's knowledge plus understanding, wise action. It's education, it's training, it's coaching, it's consulting. Simple solutions that are comprehensive, that are scalable, and that's for everyone. Solutions if you ain't got no money, solutions if you got a little bit of money, or solutions if you've got a lot of money. It's either the do it yourself, here's what you need to know, or the done with you, I'm going to hold your hand, make sure that you don't have a misstep, never ending until ongoing forever and ever and ever, right? Or for those that are really desperate, you've got the means, it's a done for you. Coming in, doing a full assessment, looking at your air quality, your water quality, your food quality, doing EMF assessments, coming up with a plan, and then looking at mitigation, remediation, and then redesign if and when necessary. Much more to come. Thank you. And this has been about an hour. So my goal is shorter content. But for now, I'm hoping that maybe I've got enough clips in this hour. I can find enough. My goal is that I can find enough, 30-second clips, 15-second clips, 10-second clips that I can turn into shorts that can just start driving people to Einstein mothers. Okay, that's it. Thanks again. I appreciate this. And I'm going to now go off the air. I'll be back 10:35 a.m. Central Standard Time. The water's rising. The planet's on fire. What are you waiting for? You either are part of the problem or you make the choice to be part of the solution. Our children depend upon it.